days. Yeah, yeah. For what is the flesh? Without the spirit, there's no best. Yeah, yeah. We live in the West, where the sins equal death. See, my earthly body doesn't mean nothing. I'll die for it if it means something. In this world, it's just long suffering. He sent his son because he loved me. I'm serious.
Hey, what's good, family? It's been a minute. I just been working on some other projects, really awesome projects. So actually, this is one of them that I'm showing right now. So this is basically a timeline that I've been working on, mostly about Hebrew history, but it also gets into the prophecies to come still as well. And so this is an ongoing project for me. It's going to be ongoing for a while, but another reason that I made this one, this timeline specifically, is I really just want to share it with other Israelites in the awakening, Gentiles in the awakening, anybody who has insight and understanding into the prophecies to come. I would like and encourage you to create your own timeline, or if you feel certain things are missing or out of alignment with this timeline. Well, right now this is, let's see, this is showing, oh, this is showing ancient times, and I'll put a link to this timeline that I made in the description of this video. But if we go forward, okay, so there's 1st century. This is when Yahusha manifests into our world. The Moors rule Europe here. We begin to be exiled into West Africa, and then eventually, this is the 400-year affliction. This around the second Exodus initializes, so that's something that I'm expecting us to come up on pretty soon. This is probably, where we are now. The awakening begins, so it's about 2017 for a lot of us. Anyway, I am going to be referencing this timeline throughout this video, so I just wanted to let you guys know this is what this is about here. But really, the video today, I was looking at some things, and I think that it could spell disaster early on for Europe before America. So I thought that was interesting. It's really just some thoughts that I have. I don't proclaim to be a prophet, but whatever title the Most High gives me is what I am. So I'll just leave it at that. That said, let me just get into this, and then anybody who has comments, of course, go ahead and comment and let me know, because I'll say this for sure, like, there's some things that I can see, but I feel like that there's issues with my timeline into like where certain things will happen, whether they're closer, like within the next few centuries, or whether they're further away. So anyway, this is the timeline though. Okay, so I'm gonna start with, let's see, Jeremiah. Yeah, I'll start with Jeremiah 50. By the way, so I'm gonna get into this, okay, and I'm getting into who peoples are and who America is in Scripture. If you're not familiar with these things, go check out my other videos. Check out Tracing America in the Bible, okay? And then at least check out Prophecy Watch, okay, so that I put up last summer, okay? And the things I'm going to talk about today are probably going to build off of those types of understanding. Okay, so this is Jeremiah 50, and I'm going to start in verse 33. So I'm gonna substitute for certain terms here, like the children of Yehuda, the children of Yasharel, who these peoples are as I'm reading. So I think that that'll help you understand how I interpret these things. Okay, so thus says Yah of hosts. Okay, the indigenous of America were oppressed along with the Negroes. All who took them captive have held them fast. Okay, so that's Europeans, what we would consider Europeans today, which by lineage mostly are Greeks, and all of which, all of Europeans, indigenous Europeans today would be considered the Gentiles. Okay, so all who took them captive have held them fast. They have refused to let them go. Their Redeemer is strong. Yah of hosts is his name. He will thoroughly plead their case. Okay, so the Most High has to plead the children of Yasharel and the children of Yahuda's case, which implies they have not been made whole, that he may give rest to the land. So even the land is testifying against them, and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. Okay, so a sword is against the Chaldeans, says Yah, against the inhabitants of Babylon, against her princes and her wise men. Okay, against the inhabitants of America. A sword is against the soothsayers, and they will be fools. A sword is against her mighty men, and they will be dismayed. A sword is against their horses, against their chariots, and against all the mixed peoples who are in her midst. Okay, so if this is the inhabitants of America, that would make sense because there's a lot of immigrants, right, in America. But again, go watch the other videos that I brought up, and at least those two. I'm sure that it comes up in other videos as well. Okay. And here, and they will become like women. A sword is against her treasures, and they will be robbed. A drought is against her waters, and they will be dried up. For it is the land of carved images, and they are insane with their idols. Now again, aside from these two videos, actually, let's see, I wrote an article about this as well. Okay, so if you go to my site, blaksimba.com, and then click the articles, you come down to Daughter of Babylon. Okay, and then this is brought up here too. So Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51, and Isaiah 47, those three chapters specifically go over America in detail. Okay, so considering what we just read here in Jeremiah 50, okay, about America, right? This is happening right now. Drought is against her waters, and they will be dried up, right? Then it says a sword is against many of her men, right? And we're definitely seeing that, right? The world is gearing up for a world war. So I wanted to bring out this portion. They will become like women, okay? And then let's keep going, and it'll come up again regarding fear. Verse 39, therefore the wild desert beast shall dwell there with the jackals, and the ostriches shall dwell in it. It shall be inhabited no more forever. Okay, it's going to get so bad, nobody will live here, nor shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. As Elohim overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and their neighbors, says Yah, so no one shall reside there, nor son of man dwell in it. Okay? So we'll see how this plays out, but it sounds like nuclear weapons will be used. But also, based off of Isaiah 47, that chapter, I think that climate change is going to hit so bad here. So I think it's going to be both of those situations where, because of climate change, as well as nukes being used at some point on this land, for both those reasons, nobody will live here any longer. Okay, so verse 41, behold, a people shall come from the north. Okay, so here, verse 41 and 42, breaks down, this is where I ended, I think, in the Prophecy Watch video. But this is what we're seeing now. So behold, a people shall come from the north, okay, Russia, North Korea, and a great nation and many kings, that's definitely Russia, shall be raised up from the ends of the earth, right? Ends of the earth. They shall hold the bow and the lance. Okay, they are cruel and shall not show mercy. Okay, so this is what we would consider ICBMs today. Their voice shall roar like the sea. They shall ride on horses, set in array like a man for the battle. Against you, O daughter of Babylon. Against you, America. Okay, so notice this too. They shall hold the bow and the lance. Just by deductive reasoning, it makes sense to me that would be ICBMs, because what kind of bow is going to reach the other side of the ends of the earth, right? In any case, okay, so verse 43, the king of Babylon has heard the report about them, and his hands grow feeble. Anguish has taken hold of him, pangs as of a woman in childbirth. Okay, so this comes up again. Where did it came up? Okay, they will become like women. And here again. Okay, so when a woman is in childbirth, is fear and pain is consuming them, right? And that's what's going to happen to the Gentiles, specifically in America. We're talking about America here, remember? Wherever this land is, the children of Yasharel and the children of Yehuda are in this land together. Okay, so this is a specific nation that's being talked about here. So I was just thinking, like, why are they in so much fear? Like, what is going to happen in which there's so much fear that it's just going to be consuming them and eating them like this? So let me go to Ezekiel 38. Okay, so this is going to go over the Gog-Magog war. Just hear me out. I know that this is beyond the second Exodus. Okay, so if we go back to the timeline, okay, here's the 400-year affliction. Okay, this is you are here around this area, and then the second Exodus is going to begin soon. Okay, initializing, not necessarily completed, but it will begin soon. So the Gog-Magog war. Okay, and I'll just put it out there, I guess, right now, but I actually have the Gog-Magog war happening, and then as the Gog-Magog war ends, I'm thinking that Mashiach will come back at that point. Okay, and I could be wrong on that, but that's what I'm thinking right now. Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to show that I have the second Exodus in my head. I'm thinking the second Exodus will happen before the Gog-Magog war, but we're going to look at the Gog-Magog war for deductive reasoning purposes, because in my opinion it reveals something that may explain why the Gentiles in America are going to be so afraid. Okay, all right, so this is Ezekiel 38. I'm just going to start in verse 1 to really get a good idea of where the enemies of Yasharel are going to be coming from. So it says, now the word of Yah came to me, saying, Son of man, set your face against Gog of the land of Magog, the prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus says the Most High Yah, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, the prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. Okay, so let's see. Son of man, set your face against Gog of the land of Magog. So Magog is a land, okay? And Gog is a spirit prince. And what's he prince over? He's the prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal, okay? And prophesy against him. Okay, so thus says the Most High Yah, behold, I am against you, O Gog, the prince of Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal. I will turn you around, put hooks into your jaws, and lead you out with all your army, horses and horsemen, all splendidly clothed, a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Okay, then he starts naming the nations. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya are with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all its troops, the house of Togarma from the far north, and all its troops, many people are with you. Okay, so I'm going to look at a couple of maps. Not that map. Okay, so this is one. Okay, so this is where they're saying these other nations are going to come to attack Yasharel. Okay, so that's one. Take a look at this one. Okay, so similar areas, right, that people are coming to these conclusions with. All right, so I'm gonna use this map, okay, just because it's bigger, and I really want to highlight the absence of certain nations, okay, in certain regions, okay, if that makes sense. Okay, so something that really sticks out to me is now that we have a better understanding, you know, in this day and time, with the Most High awakening His true people, we know that the true Yahudim, the true Jews, okay, are would be considered Negroes today. All right, so then you would think that all this area would be attacking as well, right? Like, we've had problems with the Gentiles all through history, so why aren't they attacking us specifically from Europe, right? Like, it doesn't say anything about Europe, nor does it say anything about the US. So I just think that that's interesting that those two players are absent in the Gog-Magog war. Now, that makes sense to me regarding America, because, let's see, if we go back to Jeremiah, let's see, man. Okay, so verse 46, at the noise of the taking of America, the earth trembles, and the cry is heard among the nations. Okay, the earth trembles. That again sounds like some serious bombs, or, you know, the Most High has stood up and His hand is against them for sure, right? But also, if you go and look at Isaiah 47, okay, so how does Isaiah 47 end? So verse 15, thus shall they be to you with whom you have labored, your merchants from your youth, they shall wander each one to his quarter. So remember those, it said the mixed peoples, the immigrants. If you read through Jeremiah 50 and 51, you'll see that everybody goes back to their own land, okay? I mean, imagine how bad it's going to have to be in which everybody is evacuating a nation, the whole country, right? Maybe the whole continent. So we'll see. But anyway, this last portion does not bode well. So here he says, they shall wander each one to his quarter, no one shall save you. Now that's interesting. Okay, because if we go back up, and I'll start in verse 5. Sit in silence and go into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for you shall no longer be called the Lady of Kingdoms. Okay, the Statue of Liberty comes to mind here. I was angry with my people. I profaned my inheritance. Okay, that's His people that He gave over to the rest of the nations, including America. And how did America treat us? And given them into your hand, you showed them no mercy. On the elderly you laid your yoke very heavily, and you said, I shall be a lady forever, so that you did not take these things to heart, nor remember the latter end of them. Okay, so let's go back again to Deuteronomy 28, right? So what did the last verse, and Yah will take you back to Mitzrayim in ships, by the way of which I said to you, you shall never see it again, and there you shall be offered for self to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you, okay? No one will redeem you. Remember, in the old covenant, as a slave, you could be redeemed, okay? So you could buy your freedom, or you could wait, I think it was like 7 years, okay? You couldn't be a slave over that amount of time. And so he's saying, in this slavery, when you go back to slavery or bondage, okay, Mitzrayim is the house of bondage, okay. In ships this time, he's saying that no one will redeem you. And so then when we go back to Isaiah 47, okay, so he told his people, you're going to go into slavery again, and no one is going to save you. But the nations that we were taken into, specifically this one, America, it was a test for America on how they would treat us, right? And even more of a test because they stripped us of our heritage. Okay, so we nobody remembered that we were Israelites anymore. And then it was a huge test for them to see how they would treat us. And they did not pass this test, right? So he and the Most High ends up telling them what he told us, that no one shall save you. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. It's reciprocal. Okay, so with that in mind, okay, and then let's keep going with this thought with Europe being absent and all that. I was really just breaking it down to show that America's probably gone at that point. Okay, remember, nobody's going to live there anymore. Okay, but you would think that somebody's over here, and if somebody's still over here, then they might be attacking as well. So the fact that they're not attacking also doesn't bode well, right? And then we see what's going on right now, where they being the West, as they call it, right? So the Western nations, the EU, NATO, Europe, and America, right? That's all synonymous. They are provoking Russia, right? And so if once this becomes full blown, if Russia begins to destroy Europe, okay, that is the home of the Gentiles, okay? So if this area is destroyed, okay, that too over there, this down here, okay, that would explain why we're seeing in Jeremiah 50, in my opinion, okay, that would explain why everybody's so afraid. Does that make sense? So if the Gentiles in America see, because ultimately I don't think that most Gentiles think about this, okay, Gentiles being Europeans, I don't think that they think about this, but if things get really, really bad here, they the last or worst case scenario is that they would just go back home to Europe. But if you see Europe get destroyed, your homeland, that would make sense in which they would be extremely fearful at that point, because now you have nowhere else to go. And I think that also makes sense, again, because I was talking about, remember, things are reciprocal, okay? So with the way that the Most High moves, so they did the same thing, the Gentiles did the same thing to us in our land, all right? So initially the Romans came in and destroyed us, right? Rome came in and initially Yehuda was a province of Rome until the Roman wars with the Yahudim, with the Jews, from 66 to 73 AD in 1st century. Okay, so in 1st century, they completely destroyed the rest of the Yahudim. Okay, and that's when we started coming down into Africa. All right. So along with that, though, eventually, from 1st century, about 1400 years later from then, they start coming and taking us into the Americas, right? Also back into Europe. And then they colonized the entire continent of Africa. So even if, when people are like, well, why don't you go back home? So even if we just went back over to West Africa, all these nations are ruled by the Gentiles. So effectively, we cannot go back to the civilization where we came from, whether it was in West Africa, which is already, we're in exile here, right? But it's all destroyed, colonized by the Gentiles, and right now we can't go back to our true home, which is the Holy Land, because the Edomites are there, along with some Gentiles, okay? But the replacement has already happened. So it would make sense then that if this area gets destroyed and these Gentiles over here see it, okay, they have nowhere to go. Just like what happened to us, just like what happened to the Israelites. Okay. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not, but I can see things going that way. So just something to think about. So that said, there's a lot going on in the world right now between, where's Taiwan? I think this is Taiwan here. Okay, so there's the Taiwan-China tension, okay? And all these tensions have to do with the U.S. behind it, okay? And then what's going on in the Middle East. And then, of course, what's going on up here with Russia, Ukraine, okay? But all these are kind of, pointing at America, so the way I look at it, these situations are targeting America, really, not necessarily Ukraine, whether you think it's a proxy war or not. America, the Middle East, which has been brewing for a long time. And by the way, this is where I still think that, according to Scripture and according to the way I'm interpreting Scripture, specifically in Second Esdras, as I brought up in the other videos, I still think that something significant will ignite the war, the coming world war, okay, within this area. All right. Anyway, back to this timeline though, and then I'll get into a couple of other things, just things to help you be prepared. But I didn't want to get all into this timeline at this point, because what I'm hoping is I'm going to reach out to some of the Israelite leaders that I listen to and see if they would like to do maybe a Zoom meeting call all together, and then we could all talk about what they see and the differences, or how they see things breaking down and why. So I thought that would be a cool idea, but we'll see what they say. Aside from that though, I can't remember if I brought this up before, but a really good site for emergency food, okay, is this site, readyhour.com. I definitely recommend people, when you get paid, just you can just buy a little bit, each time you get paid. So right here, this is a 1 week food supply. Right now it's $89. Okay, so if you ended up getting this, okay, so foods last up to 25 years in optimal storage conditions. So I think of it as a investment. Okay, so if you invest $90 for this food, if anything catastrophic happens over the next 25 years, this will be helpful to have, whether to eat or to barter or both, right? So, and this is just the 1 week, okay? But for those who can, maybe the 3 month or the 6 month may be a little more helpful. The 6 month I would definitely think would be helpful between both those things, between eating and also to barter with, okay? But it just depends on your family and how many people you're living with, those types of things. Okay, so that's the main one, but there's also, let's see, there's ration bars on here, emergency gear. Okay, so this is a solar brick. This would be really helpful, right? Because I'm definitely expecting rolling power outages pretty soon. They're talking about those things on mainstream TV already. So that definitely appears to be coming. Think about all the power that we get from those rivers that are drying up, that we just saw, right, in Jeremiah. Let's see. This is a solar flashlight too. This is pretty cool. So, and it's also a hand crank. Okay, so that would be helpful. Once you get the emergency food, you will need a couple things. You will need water to mix with the food, and you will need heat. So I would also don't forget about the canned heat, and then let's see, there's like a little stove or something. Yeah, okay, so here as well. So get one of these. If you really want the cooking kit, you can get the cooking kit. But the stove and the canned heat would be necessary along with the food. And then here's some tents. There's something, oh yeah. And then not necessarily the sleeping bag. These emergency blankets might probably would be helpful. Okay, so think about with rolling power outages. Okay, if you're not going to have power for a certain amount of time, are you ready for that in the summer as well as in the winter? Okay. Anyway, this is a really good website. That's to be prepared physically. Okay. Also, with that goes exercise. Okay, but I think that's one of the easiest things to do is for people to be prepared physically, but that's not going to be enough for what's coming. To be fully prepared for what's coming, you need to be prepared spiritually and mentally as well. Okay, but I just brought up the physically being prepared with these emergency gear and emergency food. I don't feel like I say it too often on these videos, so I just wanted to make sure that I get that across as well. Okay, so you are gonna need some food, right? But don't forget about your spiritual bread. Okay, so that means you'll probably need physical Bibles. Okay, I would definitely recommend the Sefer if you can buy one. So the Sefers are, it's a little expensive. It's probably, I think it's like $90 or something like that, but definitely worth it. And I like that it's got a lot of the books that they removed in the late 1800s. So that's really cool too. Like I said, if anybody has anything to add, or any insight regarding, the prophecy timeline breakdown, please feel free to comment. All praises to the Most High Yah and to the Lion of Yahudah. Peace and love, family.